Hello everyone, welcome to my Spring Boot tutorial series. In my last videos, we studied about Spring Boot JPA with CRUD operation in detail. Now we will go to the next important terminology in Spring Boot JPA context, that is association. With respect to interview, this term is so important, that is association in Spring Boot JPA context. So what is association? An association refers to a relationship between two entities in a database. So we will say, so let we will consider two entity. One is department entity and one is employee entity. So in which way we will establish the relationship in between department and employee entity? So that is representing association. So guys, here I have written some points. The one to many and many to one relationships are types of associations that define how records in one entity are related to records in another. So practically, we will say by developing a project. So what is one to many association and what is many to one association? So overall association means a relationship establishing between two entities. Suppose a department can have multiple employees. That means from the department side, one instance is going. From employee side, multiple instances are generating. So we can say it is an example of one to many relationship. So that point here I have written a one to many relationship means that one entity is associated with multiple entities. For example, a department can have multiple employees. So practically we will see so how and what department entity associating with the employee entities. Similarly, many to one association, multiple employees belong to one department. From employee entity side, multiple instances generating. From department side, one instance generating. Hence, whatever the relationship establishing, we can say that is many to one association. Okay, so in Spring Boot context, for many to one association, so there is an annotation we will use at the rate many to one. Similarly, for one to many association, there is an what annotation at the rate one to many that we will use. Okay, so we will go to my environment. This is my Spring Toolsuit environment. First of all, I will create a project, file, new Spring Starter project. Okay, so let it, we will give a project, give the project name. Let's Spring Boot, let CRUD association demo. Same CRUD operation. We can do CRUD association demo. Okay, so this is very important terminology, important point with respect to interview. So type is Maven, packaging jar, version 17, language Java. Everything is right. Okay, so let group name is com.example. Okay, artifact is this. So association example. Spring Boot JPA Association example. Let this is my description. Suppose group name and package name. Suppose I will write same com dot example. Suppose. So in this way, I filled all this information, then click on next option. So this point is important. Here we will add the dependencies. So definitely it is a web application. So first of all, Spring Web dependency I will add. Then def tool. Okay, so these two dependencies always common. So what is the purpose of def tool? So once you developed a Spring Boot application, then you executed, and after execution, if some changes, suppose you are doing, then there is no need to run again. So automatically it will republish. This is the advantage of DevTool. Definitely, I will add JPA dependency because JPA concept that is going on. And definitely here we have used a database, MySQL database. So MySQL driver, so dependency we will add. So in this way, Spring Web dependency, Spring Boot DevTool dependency, Spring Data JPA dependency, then MySQL driver, this dependency we will add. Then click on next option, then click on finish button. So now project structure is creating. So project name is Spring Boot Crowd example. Sorry, Spring Boot Crowd Association demo. So that project structure is creating. Okay, so now the project structure created. Just I will open this folders. And first of all, since it is a Maven project, so in this context, whatever the dependencies we added, so that dependency we can see in pom.xml file. So this is Spring Boot Vector Data JPA dependency, Spring Web dependency, DevTool dependency, MySQL connector dependencies. So pom.xml file containing all dependencies, whatever we have added at the time of project structure creation. So guys, first of all, we will go to application.properties file. You see, where is application.properties file? So inside the project, there is a folder src main resources. So inside the src main resources, application.properties file. So what is the purpose of this file? So since database related concepts, that concept also here we will implement. So database related configuration or database related information we will present here. So first of all, we have to create a database. I will go to my SQL environment. So first of all, I will create a database. Create database name. This is my SQL environment. Let my database name is association DB. Let it association DB, and I will execute. Just I will do a refresh button, and you see, so a database created. Name of the database is association DB. Now, in application.properties file, I will present all the database related information. So first of all, I will write string dot data source, spring dot data source dot URL. So URL is one parameter username, password name, driver class name. So everything that explicitly we have to give. Okay, so equal this part already we have known in my what last session that we have studied it will be better. So I will bring these things directly and I will copy here and I will paste here. Okay, so this part database name just I will change association DB. So you say URL first parameters spring dot data source dot URL spring dot data source dot username. So are you understanding? So each parameter before spring dot data source. In this way you can remember. So JDBC is my protocol, MySQL is my sub protocol, means my database name. So local host is my database server name. 3306 is my port number at the time of installation of MySQL software. You can see 3306 is the port number and this is the database name. So this is called as URL. Then default username is root. For MySQL database, default username is root. Then this is my password Silan @123. At the time of my SQL installation, whatever you have given the password value, that password you will give here. Then driver class name, that is driver. Driver is the class name for my SQL database. And this is the path com.mysql.cj.jdbc. Through this path, if we will go, we will get the class driver. So this is all about database related configuration. Okay, and this line is what some Hibernate related information, Hibernate related configuration. So what we have written Spring dot JPA dot Hibernate dot DDL auto equals to update. So what it is representing? So DDL data definition language. So this line representing what? How the Hibernate will handle the database schema. So DDL means to create a table, to alter a table, to drop a table. So DDL operation automatically, so it will perform. So Hibernate actually handling. So this line representing Hibernate configuration, and this line I have given the comment because now without explicitly what bringing my SQL dialect. This is the Hibernate configuration. So Spring Boot supporting that concept. So that's why this line I have given the comment. If you will not write, there is no problem. So it will be better. I will delete. So this line, Control F for saving. So Spring dot JPA dot Hibernate dot DDL auto equals to update. So Hibernate will handle the database schema. So DDL means table will create automatically. We will see. Okay. And whatever the attributes we will take inside the entity component. So that will treat as the column names. We will see. Okay. So creation of table. So we will see it will create automatically in my SQL environment. So DDL operation automatically update by Hibernate. The meaning is this. Okay, first of all, application.properties file. In this way, we have to develop application dot properties file is a such file which is containing database configuration, database related information. What is URL, what is username, what is password value. So every information that we have to keep in application dot properties file. So I hope everybody can understand with this video. After application dot properties file development, so what we will do, we will develop entity component. So now we will go to the base package. This is my base package. So right click on the base package, new class. Let I will create a sub package. Let com.example.entity. Let my class name is department. Okay, so click on finish button. So in this way, department.java, this file I created. Then, so the class department, how we will consider as an entity component, we know that. So at the rate entity, this annotation we will use. This annotation representing the corresponding class department will consider as entity component. So I will import, then at the rate table. So at the rate table annotation also I will use because table will create automatically. Okay. So I will import this annotation. So within bracket, if I will write name equals to department, so that means explicitly the table name will be DEPT. So, but this is optional. If I will not write these things, then your class name department, this name will be the table name. Okay. So now I will take some data members, some attributes I will take private. Let department ID, I will take department ID, then department name, private, department name, department name. Similarly, so I will take a list of employees. One attribute I will add, let private collection. One collection I will use list. Which type of list? Employee. So immediately we have to develop employee.java. So let my list name is employees. In this way, I can take another data member. So list I will import, employee also I will import, but till now employee.java we have not developed. So employee.java another entity. So right click on this package. Another class suppose I will create. Let my class name is employee. Click on finish button. Okay, so control S for saving. Okay, so this employee, so here this employee dot java definitely. So another entity component we have considered. Okay, so in this way we have three attributes: department ID, department name, and employees. But employees string here in string, why the red color mark is coming? Okay, so control S. So control S for saving. So in this way, three data members I took: department ID, department name, employees. Just little bit decorum that I will do department ID. So definitely when a table will create and the name of the table will be department. So the column name will be department ID, department name, employees. So one attribute I will consider as key attribute in my last videos that already I have given the clarity, and for this I will take at the rate ID annotation that I will precede this annotation representing department ID is the key attribute. Then another annotation I will use for the key attribute ID value will generate automatically. For this one annotation I will use at the rate generated value, at the rate generated value. So within bracket I will pass a parameter strategy equals to generation type, strategy equals to generation type dot identity. Okay, so control S, I will import at the rate ID annotation. I will import at the rate generated value annotation. I will import generation type. So in this way. So this part already we have studied. At the rate ID annotation representing department ID is key attribute. At the rate generated value representing this key attribute value generating automatically. Okay. So strategy equals to what? Generation type dot identity. Generation type dot identity. So what is the meaning? So it specifies that the primary key will be auto incremented by the database. One, then two, then three in this way. Okay. Then department name, if you want to represent at the rate column annotation, that means explicitly if you want what you will keep as column name, then you can use at the rate column annotation, but that is optional. But our main focus is what? Department inside the department class. So employee type of a properties I have assigned, I have presented. Because my objective is I want to establish a relationship between department entity and employee entity. So inside the department class, employee type of data member that I have taken in the form of list. So department and employee. In this way, if I will consider, then I can or I will make one to many relationship or one to many association. For this, there is one association, one to many association. Okay. And within bracket, some parameter I will pass. I will explain what I am writing. So mapped by equals to department. So this one parameter, then cascade equals to cascade type dot all, and another parameter fetch type dot lazy. So this parameter, three parameter I passed. So what is the purpose of these three parameters, or what these three parameter representing? So control S, I will save at the rate one to many. This annotation, first of all, I will import cascade type. I will import then page type. Also, I will import. Then control S. So first of all, at the rate one to many, this annotation defines a one to many relationship between department and employee entity. Mapped by departments. It is what it is representing, mapped by department. It defines, it specifies that the department field in the employee entity owns the relationship. Okay, no additional join table will be created. The foreign key resides in the employee table. So one parameter that again second parameter I have written cascade equals to cascade type dot all. What it is? So it representing, it propagates all operations. Cascade equals to cascade type dot all. It is representing save operation, delete operation performed on the department entity to the associated employee entity. So cascade equals to cascade type dot all. It is propagating all operations. Then third parameter that I have taken fetch equals to fetch type dot lazy. It specifies that the employees list will be loaded only when explicitly accessed. So the meaning is this. So again, I'm repeating what it is representing. It specifies that the employees list will be loaded when explicitly it will access. Okay. So now these are my data members. Then getter and setter already this part we have known. Control S, source, generate getters and setters, select all to generate. So this is all about department entity. In this way, getter and setter method we presented. Similarly, we will develop employee entity. So same way in which way we developed department entity, same way we will develop employee entity. But here at the rate many to one annotation we will use and some employee having some attributes that attribute related employee ID, first name, last name, email, again department object that we will take. So first of all, same way, this class, how I will consider it is an entity component. So at the rate entity, this annotation, at the rate table annotation. So this annotation. So I will import at the rate entity, at the rate table, I will import. Okay, so private int employee ID, private string related whatever you can take, suppose first name, private string last name, first name last name, in this way that I can take private string email id. Okay, so same way, so id definitely I will consider as key attribute at the rate id annotation and at the rate generated value annotation. So now I will import. Okay. Now inside the employee class, so definitely I will take a department object because already we have department.java department entity that already we have developed. So department object I will take, but it will act as a data member inside the employee class because department object representing department class property. So I can write in this way: private, the class name is department. Okay, let department object. But the object of one class acting in another class but as a data member. Employee ID is a data member, int type of a data member. First name, last name, email ID, data member, string type of data members. Similarly, department is the data member. Which type of data member? Department type of data member. Okay, so now in this line, we will represent many to one because already we have given the clarity. What is many to one? Multiple multiple employees work in a department. From employee side, multiple instances creating, and department side, one instance is creating. So in this line, I can proceed or I can represent many to one annotation, many to one annotation. Okay, and here one point again I am adding at the rate join column. Okay, I will explain what I'm writing. Name equals to department ID. Name equals to department ID in department table. Okay, DEPT ID. Department ID. Okay, so comma. Another parameter I can write nullable. I will explain what I'm writing. Nullable equals to false. Okay. So when this parameter nullable equals false, I will write for a column. That means column cannot contain a null value. Before that, I will save Control S. At the rate many to one annotation. This annotation I will import. At the rate join column I will import. So now everything is right. Okay. So this is representing many to one relationship. Okay. So at the rate many to one, this annotation defines the relationship where many employee entities are associated with one department entity. So what is many to one association or many to one relationship? So it is representing, again I am repeating, it is representing the relationship where many employees entities are associated with one department entity. Similarly, what is the meaning of at the rate join column annotation? And specifically, we have taken name equals to department ID, nullable equals to false. So it is representing foreign key concept actually. The department ID column all available in a department table as a primary key and again available in employee table. The primary key of a table exists in another table but not as a primary key. So department ID available in employee table but not as a primary key because employee ID is the primary key in employee table that we have considered. So that's why the department ID column of employee table we can consider as foreign key. Nullable equals to false. This parameter, it is the meaning is what? So it is ensuring that every employee must belong to a department. Every employee must belong to a department. Column name cannot contain null value. Okay. So this in this way, the data member that we presented. So after that, so I will represent getter and setter. I will go to source, generate getters and setters, select all, click on generate, control S. So in this way, two entities we developed, entity components. You see, first entity is department, but in department entity, what I presented at the rate one to many annotation. It is representing what? One to many. From the department side, one instance is creating. From employee side, many instances is creating. In one department, many employees working. Similarly, in employee.java, this is representing employee entity, taking employee ID, first name, last name, email ID, and department. But here in the department, at the rate many to one annotation that I have preceded, it is representing or it is establishing many to one relationship. And that means what? Many employees. From employee side, many instances creating. From department side, one instance is creating. That means many employees work in a department. So at the rate join column, so based on the foreign key concept, actually it will join. So foreign key department ID column of employee table we have considered as foreign key, then getter etc. So in this way, so we developed two entities. One is department entity and one is employee entity. So I hope everybody what enjoy with this video. Then in my next video, I will develop a repository component. We will develop a repository component. So what is a repository component? So, guys, you remember in Spring Boot, the repository component is playing a crucial role, especially in the data access layer of an application. It provides an abstraction layer over the database and allows developers to perform fraud operations and execute queries without writing boilerplate code. So we will see practically. So practically, if we will see repository component, it is nothing but an interface. Already in my last Spring Boot JPA with CRUD operation videos that already I have given the clarity. So again, we will see. I will go to my base package, right click new interface. So I will create a sub package dot repository, and since we have two entities, department.java, employee.java, similarly, we will create two repository. Let repository, department repository, click on finish button. Okay, so repository is an interface according to the concept which extends or which must extends JPA repository. JPA repository, and JPA repository specification is generic. When JPA repository we specify within angle bracket two class name we will specify. So one is entity name department and one is ID attribute corresponding class, ID department ID int, so corresponding class is integer. So I will import JPA repository and I will import department. Okay, so this is my department repository component. So now department repository is the child interface of JPA repository. So that means whatever JPA repository containing some properties, especially some built-in methods, So that built-in method we will call by department repository object, because department repository is child interface. So department repository object can access all properties of JPA repository. Similarly, like department repository, I will create employee repository. I will create employee repository. So I will go to this package, right click, new interface, employee repository, then click on finish button. So it extends same way, it must extends JPA repository. So I will within angle bracket I will specify employee. Then in employee.java, which attribute is the key attribute? Employee ID. Its corresponding data type is int. So here class name we are specifying. So int corresponding class is integer, wrapper class integer. Control S. So I will import the JPA repository. I will import employee. So in this way, two repository we developed. One is department repository and one is employee repository. Okay, so then in my next video, we will see how to develop service component. Okay, so what is the purpose of service component? In detail, we will know. Now, we will develop service component. After entity and repository, then we will go to develop service component. Service component, basically it is nothing but a class. So what is the purpose of service component? So whatever we have the problem statement, whatever we have the number of tasks, for this, that number of methods we will define. One method definition representing one task. Some built-in methods of JPA repository that we will use, and this JPA repository properties we will call by department repository object in department service. Similarly, in employee service, we will call some property of JPA repository by employee repository object. Okay, so now we will create a service component. So I will go to my base package, new class. So I will create a sub package service. Let my class name is suppose department service. Click on finish button. Okay, so in this way, so I can create a service component. How this class department service we will consider as service component. So at the rate service annotation I will use. Okay, so first thing is whatever we have the repository component, department repository. So that department repository object, first of all, I will take. So for this already I have written the code I have developed. So this part, okay, so already I have developed this part. Just simply I will copy and paste. Okay, so now I will explain at the rate service. Now I will import this annotation. So at the rate service annotation representing the corresponding class department service considering as service component. Now The first point is, first of all, I will create a department repository object because from JPA repository properties, I will call by department repository object for resolving, for performing some task. Okay, so that's why first of all department repository object I created, and at the rate auto word annotation I used because some configuration is requiring, but at the rate auto word advantage is whatever some configuration is requiring internally, it is automatically configuring. Okay, so I will import at the rate auto word. Similarly, department repository, I will import. Okay, control S for saving. So first point. Second thing is, now we have some task. Suppose first of all, suppose one record I will insert. So for one task, I will define one method. Similarly, suppose first of all one method I define, let my method name is create department by taking department object because department object representing department property, department ID, department name, one record. Suppose I want to insert. Then department I will import. So very simple things. So one method I defined. So there is a built-in method, save method. This method is coming from JPA repository interface. That's why I will call by department repository object. And within bracket department. This is the department object. So it is representing department properties. So save method in my previous videos, both JPA with CRUD example. This part already we have known. Similarly, if I want to get all records, if I want to retrieve all records from department table, so for this another method I will define. So let my method name is get all departments. So retrieving all records from department table. So all means, so definitely I will take a collection. So here collection I have taken list. So I will import coming from java.util package. So very simple things for if this is my request. So for this, there is a built-in method named as find all method, which is also coming from JPA repository interface. So directly I will write in this way return department repository object dot find all method. So guys, find all method purpose is what retrieving all records from department table. Then suppose my task is I want to retrieve one record based on the ID because in department table department ID is the primary key. Department ID is the primary key. So based on department table, so I want to what retrieve one record. So in department table, I have taken support department ID. So for this, so one method I will define get department by ID. So within bracket, so ID I have taken one parameter. So directly it will be better or department ID. So we can take suppose so this is department ID. Okay, so there is a built-in method find by ID. So using or by invoking find by ID method, So first of all, I will get the ID. So if the ID value I will get, then I can easily retrieve the corresponding record because ID column is primary key. So ID column value is unique value. So through a unique value, we can happily retrieve one record. So department repository dot find by ID method. So if I will get, it will return a record. Otherwise, if the ID value properly, if I am not able to get, so or else it will return null. So now in this way, three tasks we completed. First of all, one record I inserted. Then I retrieved all records from department table. Then we retrieve one record based on the ID from department table. Now, any update operation, any update. So for this one method we have defined, that is update department method. So update for update logic, there is no built-in method for update. So explicitly, so we have to write the business logic. So first of all, same things based on the ID. First of all, I will get the record, and that record directly I will update by setting the updated value. So within bracket, so I will take department ID value and department object. Okay, first of all, so by invoking get department by ID. Okay, so this method, suppose I am calling, and within bracket department ID I passed. So first of all, I will get the existing record, one record. So that record, one record, how I will get? So guys, this method definition, so it is an understanding point. So for updation, first of all, I need to get one record. So that record, how I will get? Now based on the ID, based on the department ID. So when I am calling this method, so it is returning a department variable. Let my variable name is existing department. So now this representing a record. If existing department is not equal to null, if that record is not equal to null, then I can set the value by putting updated value. And how to set, because in department class there is a setter method. Okay, so I will set the value. So how I will set the value? Suppose department name, suppose I want to update. So that department name, first of all, I will get by invoking getter method. I got department name. So whatever the department name I got, then I set that updated value. So after setting new value of department name, then that I will save. So department repository object dot save method within bracket this existing department. So existing department, this variable, this object is representing one record. Okay, if condition is true, then if body will execute. If condition is false, then it will return null. Again, I am repeating. So for updation, there is no business logic. So updating a record. So whatever the record I will update first, that record I will get. So how I will get the record? Now based on department ID, because department ID is the primary key. So once existing record I got based on the department ID value, then if it is not equals to null, if it is not null, then suppose department name I want to update. So that department name, first of all, I will get by invoking getter method. Then after getting department name, then I call setter method. By invoking setter method, I set the department name value. Then whatever the value I updated, then I will save. So save method coming from JPA repository. That's why I called by the department repository object. If condition is false, then it will be null. So this is for updation. Then similarly, this is for deletion. For deletion, again, one method I define delete department. So based on the department ID, same things. First of all, I will get a record based on the department ID. So delete by ID. Delete by ID. So first of all, I will get a record based on the department ID. Once that ID value I will get, so it is representing a record. So I can, then it will delete. So by invoking delete by ID, this method, so I can delete a record. So in this way, we completed our task. So service component, especially this is department service component. Okay, so this is department service. This is curly bracket for this method, and this the for the controllers. So this is department service dot java, or I can say this is department service component. We will develop an employee service component. So what we observed in service component, whatever the number of tasks we have, for this number of methods we define, and some built-in methods like save method, find all method, find by id method, delete by id method, we invoked by department repository object. Okay, same things we will do in employee service component. So first of all, I will create employee service. So right click on this package, new class. So class name is let employee service. Click on finish button. Okay, so at the rate service annotation, and I will import. So this at the rate service annotation representing what employee service, the class employee service considering as service component. First of all, I will create employee repository object, employee repository object, employee repository object. So one class object, if I will create in another class, so in Spring Boot context, the configuration is requiring. So whatever the configuration is requiring, automatically that it will configure how. So at the rate auto weird annotation, this annotation will do automatically weird configuration will wear. So I will import this. I will employee repository import, then control S. Okay. So for employee service component also I have written the code. So this part, control S. So okay, so one by one I will explain. First of all, what I have done, I am trying to retrieve all records from employee table. So forget all employees. First of all, you go through this. First, one record, what we will insert. First, you do these things. Same way, so one method create employee method by taking employee object. Employee, first of all, I will import. So save method I called by employee repository object, then one record inserted. Similarly, if I want to retrieve all records from employee table, for this one methods I have defined, let my method name is get all employees. So retrieving all records, definitely it is if since it is returning multiple records, so return type I have taken as list. So I will import first. So for this, there is a built-in method find all method. So I will call by employee repository object. Same way, suppose I want to get one record from employee table. For this one method, I have taken get employee by ID. So here I will pass ID. So in employee dot Java. Okay. So let my employee ID. So based on employee ID value, I can get one employee record. So for this, find by ID is a built-in method coming from JPA repository interface. That's why I will call by employee repository object. So it is returning a record. If the ID value properly I will not get, then it will return null. So same way. So here update. So for updating employee, so first of all, based on the employee ID value, so I will get a record. So by taking employee ID value and employee object, same way, so get employee by ID. Currently, this method I have defined for getting a record based on the ID value. Same things I called, it is returning. So an object suppose related employee type of variable or employee type of object. So it is representing a record. Suppose this record is existing employee representing one record, which record based on the employee ID value, whatever we will get the record. So if this is not equal to null, then we can set. So how I will set first name value, last name value, email ID, say department, all. If I want to update first name, last name, email ID, department, so I can use setter method. So already in employee.java, setter method is available. By invoking setter method, we can set the value. But first of all, before setting the value, so first of all, I will get the value. So within bracket, first of all, we will get value, then set. So by invoking getter, we will get first name, last name, email ID, department value. Then after that, we will set the value. So after setting the value, then save method I will call whatever the value we set. So then I will save, means I will insert. So if condition is true, then if body will execute, otherwise it will return null. So this type of logic, so in department service.java, that also we have seen. Also in my previous videos, Spring Boot JPA with CRUD operation, already we have studied. So this is my employee service component. For delete, same way. Delete employee, suppose one method, and based on the employee ID value, I will get a record. So based on the ID value, so that ID value representing a record, so that record we can delete. How? By invoking delete by ID method. So delete by ID is a built-in method coming from JPA repository interface. So that's why we have called by employee repository object. So delete by ID method purpose is based on the ID value, whatever the record we will get, that record will delete. So this is all about service component. So guys, in this way, two service component, one is department service.java and employee service.java we developed. We will develop controller component. So after development of entity, this is curly bracket for this method and this the for the controllers. So this is our department. This is curly bracket for this method and this the for the controllers. So this is our department service.java, or I can say this is department service component. We will develop controller component. So after development of entity, repository and service component, now the time came we will develop controller component. So I think in this context, this is the last component and this is the main key component. Okay, so I will go to the base package, right click. So controller component is nothing but a class. Let I will create a sub package controller. So first of all, I will develop department controller. Let my class name is department controller. Click on finish button. So what is the purpose of controller component? First of all, how the class department controller can consider, will consider as a controller component for this. So I will present an annotation at the rate rest controller. So at the rate rest controller, it is representing the corresponding class. Department controller is the controller component. So already the purpose of REST controller in my previous videos that I have given the clarity, it is indicating that the class is a REST controller means where all the methods return JSON responses. In when we will go for testing environment, whatever the data we will take as input, JSON data we will take as input. Basically at the rate REST controller combining the functionality of add the rate controller annotation and add the rate response body annotation. Okay, so then another annotation, suppose I will put, let it add the rate request mapping, add the rate request mapping within bracket, let slash API slash departments. Suppose. So what it is representing? Okay, so here what at the rate request mapping annotation representing? First of all, I will import this annotation. Okay, so like an endpoint I created. So what it is representing? This annotation sets the base path for all the endpoints in this controller to class API slash departments. When I will what eh, put URL for all endpoints. So this is the base path. Okay, so it is setting the base path for all endpoints. Now we will create some endpoints for each task. Okay, so for all the endpoints in the controller, to slash API slash departments, whatever you can write here also. Okay, so first of all, here, two annotation I used. One is at the rate rest controller and one is at the rate request mapping. At the rate rest controller annotation representing the corresponding class. Department controller is a controller component. At the rate request mapping. So it is annotation. It is representing what? Setting the base path for all the endpoints in this controller to slash API slash departments. Now, in controller component, I will create a service object. In a department controller, department service object I will call. So whatever the methods we have defined inside the service component, so that method I will call inside the controller component by department service object. So first of all, I will take department service object, department service object department service. So I will put auto wait same way. So I will import. Okay. Control S for saving. So I have already written. So one method I will call inside the controller component, and for this Again, one method I have presented and by creating an endpoint. So first suppose, okay, so this part I will import department, I will import post mapping, I will import at the rate request body, I will import. Okay, so first of all, I will insert one department record. So insert means putting post requests. So create department, one method I define. So this create department method I have defined in service component. So that's why this method I am invoking by department service objects. So this line we are requiring, but in Java or in Spring Boot context, so whatever anything we are doing, we have to do inside a method definition, because for representing a method definition, we need to create an endpoint. So whatever the URL we will create localhost colon 8080 slash insert department. This endpoint is representing this method definition execution. So you see, one method I defined for this, and within bracket what I have first at the rate request body annotation department object I have passed as an what argument. So request at the rate request body binds the incoming JSON request body to the department parameter. Again, I am repeating why at the rate request body annotation that I am presenting binds the incoming JSON request body to the department parameter. Department object representing department properties, class properties. So objective is whatever the method I have defined inside the service component, that method here we are invoking by service object, department service objects. When a method will call, then method definition will execute. And this method, for this method, we are creating an endpoint. So since inserting a record, inserting, that means posting information. If the posting information is my requirement, so which annotation I will use? At the rate post mapping. Posting information at the rate get mapping, getting information at the rate put mapping, updating information at the rate delete mapping, deleting information. So like in my previous videos that already I have given this clarity for this. So for getting a record by based on the id, so getting information means I will create an endpoint at the rate get mapping annotation within a bracket slash, so specific id value. Okay, so in this way I can write also. So path variable. So what is the purpose of path variable explicitly? When based on the id value after localhost colon 8080 slash, after that again explicitly any value if I will write, then for this, so an annotation we will use at the rate path variable for the purpose extract this id value, department id value from the URL. This is the purpose of at the rate path variable. So since it is getting information, that's why I have mentioned at the rate get mapping. Okay, similarly, so for deleting at the rate put mapping, so for updating, so here department ID. Okay, so department ID. Okay, so here at the rate path department ID and department object. So objective is this update department method we have defined inside the service component. department service component. That's why we are calling by department service objects, and an endpoint we are creating. Similarly, for delete mapping, I will import at the rate delete mapping annotation, and suppose this is department ID, and based on the department ID, I will get the record. That record I will delete. Similarly, delete department method we have defined inside the service, department service component. That's why we are invoking it by department service object. And here this is my endpoint. So for deleting information, which annotation we are using? At the rate delete mapping. Guys, you remember, for updating information at the rate put mapping, this annotation we use. For getting information at the rate get mapping annotation we use. For inserting information at the rate post mapping we use. Okay, so this is my department controller component, or the file name is department controller.java. So whatever the URL will generate, like localhost colon 8080 slash API slash department slash insert department slash any department ID value. Okay, in this way, we will see when we will go to the testing environment in Postman. Postman is your testing environment. We will see so how we are inserting data and updating data. Okay, so this is my department controller component. Okay, so in this way, we are developed two controller components. One is department controller.java and another is employee controller.java. So in this way, four components we developed: entity component, repository component, service component, and controller component. Now we will run this application. So I will go to the project, right click on the project, run as Spring Boot app. So we will see. So now you see happily it executed. Tomcat started on port 8080. Okay, so we will check. First of all, I will go to the database, and here uh, association DB. This database we had used. So just I will do the refresh button, and you see. So in association DB, so table created. One is the department table and one is employee table. And you see in department table column is department ID, department name, and in employee table employee ID, email ID, first name, last name, department ID. So it have created. Okay, so I will open Postman environment, just one or two scenario that we will see. So department. So if I will see the department table, department, if I will run, and you see, so department ID and department name. So two column, department ID is the primary key